I'm Craig Fuller. Welcome to Fuller Speed. I'm here with Ryan Rogers from Covenant Transport, talking about what's happening in freight. It's been an exciting year. It's been an interesting year, and you have a lot of experience to draw on and understand what's happening. I'd love to hear your perspective on 2019, what you guys have seen so far, and what you're anticipating going forward.
So 2019 obviously is much different than 2018. 2018 obviously being very red hot, but in 2019, we've seen the market be a little bit soft. The things that you guys are reporting on, obviously trucking bankruptcies that we're seeing that are active in the market, shippers, they've been treating us good, a lot of our great customers, but it's just been a little bit softer year.
Now you guys have a big team operation that's been benefiting from e-commerce, but also has a lot of exposure to e-commerce. How do you think, what's your perspective on what's happening with Amazon moving to next day transportation and just trying to accelerate the speed and momentum of freight movement?
I think for us, being on the expedite side actually is still a very, very big benefit, because what's happening is team freight is a shorter length of haul now than it used to be. As you and I know from legacy history, team freight was 1,000 plus miles. Whereas now what we're seeing is with the expedited delivery and expectations, then that length of haul is coming down, so it's keeping our teams moving.
Are you seeing the tweener freight really become team transit with
I would say
the
somewhat.
hours of service changes?
Yeah, somewhat.
I haven't heard anyone say that that team transit length of haul is actually changing. Can you dive a little bit more into that?
Really, it's focused on the expedited side. So as they expect to compete with an Amazon, compete with even Walmart pushing 2-day, 1-day, is as the manufacturers are still a little bit further from the DCs, it's still that length of haul. I think what they're doing is they're expecting quick shipments faster with a shorter length of haul, even sub 800 miles.
So they can't run solos. So these are 450 to 800 miles. They're not solos, and they're really not ideal for
traditional teams that we would.
But you keep them running. How do you? I mean, I imagine that's a change in mindset for drivers as well. The fact that they're not going the longer distance. How do you keep them running and satisfied with shorter lengths of haul?
It's very much a challenge, but again, I think that the business has changed for them as well in the hours of service. So I think I feel like it works out pretty well. Now they would rather have the longer length of haul and run all day and run for 3 or 4 days from load to load. But I think they're adapting and adjusting too.
Yeah, it's hard to compete against the rail and those super long lengths of haul, and particularly as things like coal and other commodities are as the railroads are investing more in intermodal traffic, it just puts more pressure on that length of haul. You had been at U.S. Express. I've known you for many, many decades when you were there, and you're a native of Chattanooga. You and I both grew up knowing what that really super long length of haul that East to West Coast traffic was, that was really defined U.S. Express and Covenant for that matter.
Right.
That business has changed quite a bit. What do you think's caused that? Is it intermodal? Is it just change of DCs and how people are thinking about their distribution centers? Or is it just the broad sort of cycles of the economy?
I think it's all those. I think the biggest impact, though, is the DCs continue to move closer and closer. Over the past 20 years, you and I have both seen that, where they would get closer and closer with the demographics. As you get a bigger density with population, then a DC makes sense closer. And we're also seeing, and even on our managed trans, we're helping other customers be able to provide smaller DCs so that product is closer and faster to be able to touch the consumer. So I think that's had a major effect on the change. But the difference is the length of haul is shortened, is the expectation of time has increased. So I think that's where they balance.
You mean they want it faster?
Yeah, they want it quicker.
Because they're closer, they expect the cadence of it to come faster and stuff.
Yeah.
Now you guys made a big acquisition that was atypical for Covenant. It was really in managed transportation, warehousing. When you bought, you talk a little bit about your Land Air acquisition.
Yeah, so Land Air was a phenomenal opportunity for Covenant. It was when I just joined Covenant. I was relatively early, and one of my responsibilities was M&A. We started looking, and a book and an opportunity came up with Land Air. We weren't necessarily looking for something that close, but it worked out. It was in Greenville, Tennessee, and then knew the history of Land Air, and Land Air had really gone through a transformation themselves from a 500, 600, 800 truck carrier to really into the managed trans side of the business. What we were trying to do is manage our business of what's a little less cyclical business and get into where we're closer to the customer. So that relationship is much different than a transaction at a time with a carrier, but actually a real relationship, a sticky relationship, and closer, as David likes to say, closer to the customer.
So as you think about what that means moving into providing deeper services, is Covenant going to make any other acquisitions of those types, or is the goal to really ingest that business and manage it and scale it into your existing infrastructure?
I think it's a little bit of both. So we're going to continue to look for opportunities in the market, but we've really been able to grow Landair really, really well even from last year. They had a nice trajectory going, but they've continued to add to their customer base and expand it. So I think we could see there's tuck-in opportunities for Landair, and then we'll continue looking in the marketplace for non-asset acquisition opportunities.
Do you think, I think about this a lot, do you think the truckload, growing up and seeing a lot of the M&A, it was sort of like the old thinking was he who had the most trucks won. You would see the big carriers would buy one company, and then that would force another carrier to buy another one. There's a lot of M&A activity. But it seems like asset M&A is sort of not in vogue anymore. Those models have not worked out successfully. A few exceptions to that, but broadly have been very difficult.
They have. I think it's just a different way of running business. I think transportation's a tough industry, and it's very challenging, and working with customers can be a challenge with the transaction because you never know for sure what freight you have each day in and out. You've got some commitments, but it's not full commitments, and I think that's what makes it a little bit difficult.
And you have challenges of, when you move cultures to a new set of drivers, and really
I think so.
The success of the businesses is the driver. It's not the equipment.
It is.
It's fairly easy to come by.
And we've seen a lot of those companies make acquisitions and keep the legacy name because of that reason.
Sure. I mean, I think probably one of the most remarkable acquisitions of our decade has been the Knight-Swift merger. I mean, both in terms of scale, but also in terms of the success that they have demonstrated through that acquisition. Just because it was just, I think there was a lot of questions on whether Knight and Swift, being crosstown rivals, could really execute and how that would end up. But I think they deserve a lot of credit. But that's an unusual sort
and
of
sheer
exception.
size.
Yeah,
they pulled it
massive.
off. They did a very good job.
And massive. We had the fortunate opportunity to host Swift last week here at Freight Alley, and got to see how they're thinking about intermodal as a strategy. Now, is Covenant in intermodal, or
we're really not? No, we haven't.
Just stay away. You guys,
we are.
as a rule, have never really been intermodal.
We have not.
I know. I mean, U.S. Express had it 20 years ago, and over the last decade, it sort of exited. But you're either in or out. I don't think you can be in or what. So what's next for Covenant?
Next for Covenant, well, right now, as you mentioned with the Landair acquisition, it's obviously focused on it, growing it, continue to grow our expedited. We've got a reefer division as well. We've got dedicated. We're continuing to grow dedicated as well. So I think it's focus on our basics and be very intentional, fundamental. Spend a lot of time on the non-asset side. We've made an investment recently in moving our brokerage facility off-site, and that's worked out really well.
So but you moved downtown.
We did.
Too far from us.
We did, just a few miles away. So it's a quick drive over.
And was that just to attract? I mean, you're not that far. Your headquarters is, one exit from downtown. But I imagine it's far enough away where it makes it more difficult. People can't walk there or ride bikes.
It does. There's a cultural shift, as you're seeing with your office. Great location, close to everything. So it's definitely a cultural shift from a retention perspective, and it's been great for recruiting talent.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Ryan, I got to ask, your projections for the rest of the year, just in terms of the broad market, are you thinking it's going to be a good market this year, or you think it's going to be, we're going to end with some softness?
I think I think it's going to be better than just soft. I think we'll see.
You think it's going to improve? You're going to see volumes?
I think we'll see some improvement over today. I think we'll see that just because I think historically fourth quarter's been solid with the seasonality effect. I think potentially some things might calm down a little bit on the tariff side, but I'm optimistic.
I don't think anyone can make that bet.
I'm just guessing. I mean, one day it seems better than the next.
And I was on Bloomberg and actually said, I think we're done because of the election cycle.
Oh, I don't think we're done.
And a week later, it's a new tariff cycle. So just the way it goes. Well, anything that that you really are top of mind, excited about in terms of the industry?
I'm very excited about the tech side. Because I think it has, as you and I have talked in the past, the money that has moved in the market and the interest that we have in transportation is at its peak levels. I mean, we've never seen it quite so exciting. So I'm thrilled with what we're seeing on the tech side. Really interested to see on the next safety enhancements for the trucks. I wouldn't say autonomous trucks, but level 2. That's really exciting because that changes the game, in my opinion, with safety with the trucks. So I'm very excited about that. I'm excited about the tech, just the ideas that are coming up. I mean, at FreightWaves at the conference, I mean, it's just exciting to me to see the people that think and feel and are really excited about logistics.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. Freight has become sexy. I think
cool.
It's an interesting pace. We get the opportunity to host. You're going to be there at FreightWaves Live in Chicago, which I'm excited to hear from you as well as others. On November 12th and 13th in Chicago, you can find out at freightwaves.com under our events tab. Sign up today. Ryan will be there along with over 100 speakers and about 80 companies demoing. Ryan, thanks for coming in, and we'll hope to have you back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.